Hi, my name's Dana Harris Seeger. Welcome to my studio at Visual Philosophy. Today I want to talk about mixed media. I use a lot of different media in my two-dimensional work, and when I talk about media and mixed media, that just means different types of materials. So for instance, in this piece here, I have screen printing, a couple different types of screen printing. I have collage, and a lithograph. So all those different materials I call media. Media can be anything from printmaking to getting more specific into screen printing or lithography. It can be sculpture. It can talk about the actual physical materials within those different genres. So I could mean that I'm using sculpture, I'm using drawing materials, I'm using painting. So media and materials I'm kind of using interchangeably. Because I work mostly two-dimensionally, I use a lot of materials that lay flat. So I'm not particularly using a sculptural material like clay. Some surfaces do tend to get built up, but I'm really working on a two-dimensional plane. This piece, for instance, has a screen print, it has encaustic, it has some oil pastel, it has some scratching into the surface, which is a characteristic that I really love about encaustic. And I really think about the layers and what goes on first and then what I build on top of that. Because with mixed media, even if you're working two-dimensionally or in one particular genre, then you still have to think about the types of materials that you're using and that you're mixing. For instance, with encaustic, I wouldn't want to put anything water-based on top of the encaustic paint because it would repel. So the surface of the encaustic is such that I can add oil-based materials to it, but I can't add water-based or it'll just beat up and repel off the surface. So I really have to think about the layers and what materials I'm mixing in order to get a successful result. Let's see some other examples. This one here has a monotype. I used a jelly plate and collage. Here's some collage. I used some crayon or oil pastel. And then I put a vinyl cutout on top. And although in my process, it's very organic and fluid and I use a lot of layers, because I've been doing it for so long, I really understand the way that the materials work and what to layer when, what's gonna look good on top of something else. For instance, in this one, I placed the vinyl cutout last, or the topmost layer, because I wanted it to stand out. I knew it was going to be pretty bold and graphic, and I wanted that to be the very last layer that I put on. It's also a little bit slick and shiny, so some of these other materials might not stick to it. Same for the encaustic. So this can happen just by trial and error, experimenting. I mean, a lot of my experiments initially have failed, and that's why I learned, for instance, not to put water-based materials on top of things that would repel it. For instance, you wouldn't want to put acrylic paint over this encaustic painting because it won't stick. So trial and error is important, but also getting to know your materials and really understand what they're made out of is really important to decide then what you want to layer and what you can layer underneath and then on top. So I hope that helps and guides you a little bit in your experimentations with mixed media.